Hey guys, it's Daniel and Mariah here, and it is Christmas time. We are stoked, and we're going to talk about today 5 questions couples should ask each other during the holiday season.
Yeah, so this list was derived from just questions we get asked often when it comes to Christmas season.
Yeah.
When it comes to holidays in general, but disproportionately more in Christmas season. And but before we start with those questions, we just wanted to comment on how wild our Christmas decorations.
This is our Christmas decor.
We went
for
all
the
out
video.
this year, so there you go.
No, we really have a Christmas tree and everything, but
Yeah.
this is our video decorations.
Yeah, not seen is our Christmas tree behind
Yeah.
the camera. Anyways, so these 5 questions I think are really helpful as couples become a family,
Yeah.
whether it be through marriage or whether you've been together for a while, and you just have to kind of think about like different families and even the traditions you want to hold as a couple,
Yeah.
the different practices that you want to carry into the holidays.
And it's things you don't think about a lot until you
yeah.
get married.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
holidays are special and also important
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to most families and how they, just the regular rhythm of a year. So,
Totally.
and it's like there's at least 3 significant holidays throughout a year. And so we wanted to talk about this as we approach Christmas.
Yes.
The first question we get often is, do you guys get each other gifts?
And the answer is no.
We don't get each other gifts. Yeah.
And I think a big reason for that is Daniel and I both aren't gifts people. So we don't, like, of course we value gifts, but for each other, we would rather do an experience together.
And specifically around Christmas, like for her birthday, I'll get, like, I actually really like getting her gifts, and for Valentine's Day or whatever.
Yeah.
But when it comes to Christmas, we just...
There's so many
about
gifts
to-
you have to get.
Yeah.
We're like, okay, we don't need gifts for each other right now. We'll just
Yeah.
spend time together, maybe do something special
And
together.
we made the decision pretty early on in our marriage too, in our relationship in general. Like when we started dating, I think
Yeah.
we started this, where it's like, you know what? There's a lot of pressure from like marketing companies and like just the whole like commercial bend is towards consumerism and
capitalism.
all those words. The bend is towards buying more gifts, and we're
Yeah.
like, oh, we don't actually like enjoy buying gifts as much as we would doing something together.
Yeah,
that-
and sometimes it's like, I don't want to just buy you something because I feel like I have to.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
And I think something that I realized in that whole conversation that we've had is like, there's so much pressure externally to like almost like have your relationship look a certain way around Valentine's Day or
Yes,
Christmas
yeah.
or birthdays. And it's like, at the end of the day, we have to stand back and ask, like, what do we actually value?
Yeah.
Like, what do you, because I'm not going to find myself like frustrated walking through a mall, or you frustrated
Yeah.
like online shopping for me.
Yeah.
Because you're not able to find a thing that you know what I mean?
Yeah.
When it's like, I really just want time with you, or
Yeah.
really just want to experience something new with you, or go to a concert or whatever. So we made the decision early on, we wouldn't buy gifts for one another.
That's not for everybody, but it works for us. It
Not a
works for us
rule,
really well.
not a rule, but it's worth asking the question.
Yeah.
Do you guys want to buy gifts,
Yeah.
or is there another way to show each other love? The next question we ask is pertaining to family. Like we both have families. Our families live about a 5-hour flight away from each other. So, and we happen to live close to Mariah's family and further away from my family.
Yeah.
So his next question is, how do you guys celebrate with both families when it comes to the Christmas season?
And this has been interesting for us to figure out, because since we've been married, we haven't really had a regular rhythm of like, we're celebrating with one family this year and celebrating with another family this year.
Yeah.
But this year,
Yeah.
we're starting that.
So our first Christmas together was
Yeah.
actually our honeymoon.
Yes.
So we were in the tropics and celebrating Christmas, just the two of us.
Yeah.
And then the next Christmas we spent with your family,
family.
and then the Christmas after, your family as well. And then last Christmas, my family, and this family again, this Christmas again
Your
is with my
family,
family.
yeah.
And mainly because our families are starting to get significant others,
Mm-hmm.
and now everyone on my family has a significant other, and your family's starting to kind of delve into that territory.
Yeah.
So we had to get on a bit of a rotation. So this year for my family, we're kind of correcting.
The Smith family Christmas this year. And
Yeah.
then next year we'll go to my family.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
that's one way. Another thing we do is we do Secret Santa for both families.
Yeah.
So even though we're going to his family for Christmas this year, we'll still do one with my family.
And we both have big families, so that's actually better on the wallet as well.
We used to not do a Secret Santa with my family, and it was insane.
Yeah.
Like, it was way too expensive. So
Yeah.
you have to do, I have 5 siblings, so Secret Santa's the way to go.
And we typically enter as one person. That's another hack. We enter as one person. This year for my family, we're doing, we're
separate.
going in as individuals.
Yeah.
But for your family, we're going together,
Yes.
which is awesome.
Yeah.
So that's another one of the ways we do that. And then I think that when it comes to like even leading up to Christmas, because your family does a lot of traditions leading up to Christmas, it's almost like there's ways for us to soak up the Christmas feel and traditions
before,
without actually being there on Christmas Day. So that's
Totally.
been huge. I know your family's into like Christmas movies. And
Yeah, my family loves Christmas movies, so like before we leave to go see his family, we'll probably watch a few movies with them. We went and got the tree with them.
Yeah.
So we'll do a few things like that to soak it up with them for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so the next question we often get is, how do you decide? This one's controversial. This one's pretty controversial.
I'm scared.
How do you decide which family traditions to keep as you start a new family? So similar to the last two questions, I think it's really important for couples to be like unified in how they get to the decision as to what you keep, what you don't.
Okay.
Like I think that like there's going to be things that are really sacred. Like I think it's important for us to like even bring into the conversation a measure of empathy, because like if it's a tradition that you guys are holding, it might be a tradition that might be like you might have held for the last 20 some odd years, like, you know what I mean? Your whole life. And it's not like, I think sometimes for me, because of the way I think, I'm not necessarily thinking like, oh, like this is a highly, I guess, like emotional decision. Like this is like do we have time to do this or not?
You're not like a sentimental traditions type of guy.
Yeah, like I like traditions, I do, but when it comes to Christmases have just always looked different for my family.
Yeah.
So I'm a lot less like, oh, I need to do this thing.
Yeah,
so I think that,
I'd be more like that.
exactly.
Yeah.
And I think that it's kind of worked for us too, because like I think there'd be probably more conflict if I had these like stakes in the ground when it comes to different traditions we celebrated, and you had the same thing and we're like clashing.
Yeah.
But I think that when it comes down to it, it's like I love hearing about your traditions. I love being able to be invited into the traditions of your family.
Yeah.
And vice versa.
I think what's important too is like, weighing out what you value from both sides and also creating new stuff together.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we haven't really done yet, but something that I'm excited to do as the years go on.
Yeah, and I think the one tradition that we kind of hold true to is like going to church on Christmas Eve.
Yes.
Like that's important to both of our families, so it
Yeah.
feels like pretty easy, and we keep like Jesus as a central kind of focal point when it comes to the Christmas season.
Yeah.
So a lot of our traditions like stem from that.
Yeah.
And so for me, as long as that's in the picture, it feels like pretty. So I think when it comes down to it, it's like like really naming and communicating about what you each value, and then ultimately
Meaning
building
of
out from there.
Christmas.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The fourth question we get is, are there any rules you guys have surrounding conflict during the holidays?
That's a hard one. I think like we have both been present for each other's conflicts in our families, and it's hard. It's hard to be there when family's not getting along, but we don't have any rules. I think if we did have any, it's probably like I'm not going to get super involved in his family's conflict, and he's not going to get super involved in my family's
I think
conflict.
I would call them best practices. Like if I would never gang up with Mariah against one of her siblings or parents. And I would never gang up with one of your siblings or parents against you. Like that's just like, but that's just general conflict stuff that we would never really do.
And something we would do though, I think we haven't had to do this because our families are respectful of each other, but is we would stand up for each other. I think if we saw a family member putting one of us down, I think we'd stand up for each other and kind of get involved in that way. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think something to, I guess, bring to light in the discussion too is like the nuance of the like different types of families.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we're not talking like, oh, like Mariah, Mariah's mom telling me, "Oh, Mariah left the dish on the counter again,"
Yeah.
and me saying like, "Oh no, she didn't." Like, it's not like
That's
that kind of
different.
defense. It's like, oh, if there's any, like, always, we're always wanting to protect each other's character
Yeah.
and make sure that. And so we've never had the moment yet where we've had to really defend one another.
Yeah.
Because ultimately, like, we love our families, love my brothers, love my sister, love my parents. You do this, you do the same for your siblings and parents. But I think it's so important for us to be thinking like, okay, how am I protecting each other in this time, and then protecting our families? And I think that the conflict conversation expands out to like, to conflicts between the two of us.
Yeah.
So it's not just like conflict between, like, I think when people are asking that, sometimes they're like, okay, how do you guys engage conflict
Yes.
when you're having nothing
family's
but family
all
time all
around.
around? And it's just like,
So hard.
again, it's similar to how we would normally engage conflict, where it's like,
Yelling and screaming? No.
yeah, where it's like, okay, being patient with one another,
Yeah.
allowing it to be shelved or offline if
Yeah.
it can, like just have it another time.
Yes, yeah.
And then like, I think that as a general practice, we try not to have arguments or like conflict
In front of people.
just
Yeah.
because it's just like, it's not as fair for one another, and we want to be
agree.
mindful because sometimes it's not as fair for the people who are around as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. Okay. Are we moving on to the last question?
the last question is, any tips for doing Christmas on a budget?
Yes. Learn how to make sourdough bread. I think that is a good tip
That is a good tip.
because it's a great present for low cost.
Yeah.
People love bread. So that's one tip I have.
Yeah, that's a good tip. Another tip is, we mentioned it earlier, but Secret Santa.
Secret Santa.
Secret Santa saves a lot of money, because I literally have friends that will spend like $3,000
That's crazy.
on family gifts.
Really?
Yeah.
That's insane.
And it's just like tons of money, tons of output,
Yeah.
and it's just like, sorry, I'm not spending, like, I
Like,
love
I love you,
my
but-
siblings. I do, but they would be confused if I
If
spent
you
that much
drop
money
that. Yeah.
on gifts.
I think another thing that I love to do is write people letters.
Yeah.
I think that really communicates how
Mm-hmm.
much they mean to you and really makes people feel loved and
Yeah.
thought of, and it's a really thoughtful gift. So
Yeah,
think a
and I
letter-
think that something else I think of, mainly because I grew up in my family, we did a lot of experiences. Like there's Christmases where we would go like no gifts, but we would go on a trip to Disney World or Disneyland or whatever. And I think that it's so important to like experiences don't have to be as grandeur as that. They
Yeah.
could be like, oh, let's all go see spend $10 each and go see the Christmas lights and like take pictures together.
Yeah.
And that's our Christmas gift this year. It's like, I think that needs to be made popular.
Yeah.
It almost needs to be made cool. Like, we're not doing gifts this year. We're just
Yeah.
doing blank experience.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
I agree. I think that'd be really healthy for culture.
Yeah.
Because I remember as a kid, I'd come home from Christmas break and people would be like, "What'd you get for Christmas?" And I never wanted to share because
Yeah.
I'm like, I did not get an iPod or whatever
Yeah.
they were getting.
We were not
and
bougie.
We were not bougie.
No Xboxes
and
for
I
us.
was fine. Christmas was still like so happy for me and
Yeah.
so amazing. And it wasn't until people would ask me what I got where I would be like, oh, like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think like I would love it if we lived in a time where it was just normal to like
true.
not do these big extravagant
Yeah.
presents. Yeah.
Anyways, Christmas is gonna be awesome. We wanna bless you guys as you go and experience Christmas with your significant others and your families. I hope that it's amazing. If you have any questions or comments or even tips for how to do Christmas better as couples or individuals, make sure to drop those below, because we believe that the best conversations aren't the ones happening here, but the ones that are happening in the comments.
Yes. And make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you next time.